Okay, good day all. So we're going to be going through week 4 and week 5 slides this week. And next week you guys have a quiz. So make sure you guys go through this because everything on that quiz will be from this week 4 and week 5, all right? So last week you guys had your quiz. I still have to mark it. I haven't marked them yet. Um, but we have another one next week. So let's get through this as fast as possible and make sure you guys study this before next week. So we'll start with week 4, okay? Talking about technology, services, and cultural considerations. Okay, so services and manufacturing, okay? So in today's market, I think we spoke about this before, full market full of feature saturated products and super competitive prices. So manufacturers are looking for a new service-based business model that will allow them to expand margins and build stronger relationships with customers. Okay, many are discovering that adding services to their portfolios allow them to differentiate their offerings and gain a competitive advantage. So, for example, in the example of Amazon, what they're doing right now is they're offering the Prime service, right? If you have Amazon Prime, you get that you get the Amazon Prime Video, and you also get faster shipping, right? So they're not just a marketplace where you sell stuff. They're a marketplace where there's a bunch of fast shipping and a bunch of added stuff that happens as well. So while contract manufacturing has always been a service, digitization is changing the way products are designed and the way contract manufacturers produce those products, right? So now what's happening is, products always get designed, they always get made, but now because we're in the digital age, they're using a lot of technology to create these products. Okay, so we'll get into that a lot more. So let's just read through this. These changes have led to the expansion of manufacturing as a service. Okay, so manufacturing is now turned into a service where business can leverage a shared network of manufacturing infrastructure from machines and maintenance to software and networking to produce goods. Okay, so basically what they're talking about is if you have a company and you're building a product, you can outsource your technology to a different company. So that's a service, right? These businesses, they're manufacturing things for a different company, and that's their service. Okay? So with manufacturer networks, customers submit projects to an in-network manufacturers who then review the design and provide fast, precise quotes. This reduces administrative burden as well as manufacturing costs. Manufacturing as a service is having a significant impact on the cost and speed of R&D and prototyping, especially for high-tech products such as semiconductors. Okay, guys. So here, listen. This is basically an example of of services in manufacturing. Okay, so a new semiconductor fabrication plant, also called a fab, can cost upwards of $6 billion. Now, let's just say that you have a product that needs a semiconductor. Okay, instead of going and building a $6 billion semiconductor plant, what you could do, so you see that this cost of entry is completely unaffordable for many companies looking to enter and grow in the space. However, manufacturing fab companies now offer services and they offer manufacturing services for fabless companies. So companies that don't have a fabrication plant, right? They're not offering services for that company, for the companies that don't have it. Okay, so that's their service. So not only are they making their business is not just manufacturing, their business is a service now. So they're getting into just manufacturing stuff for one company. They're not doing that anymore. They're now a hub where a bunch of companies can come and manufacture their stuff. So that's how their services are growing. Okay, and the best part about it is you don't have to be a company that does it all. You can just be a company that does one thing very well, and then you just outsource to all these other places and get stuff done like that. Okay, let's get into what's goods trade. Very, very, very simple, guys. Goods trade. Trading goods includes all goods which add to or subtract from the stock of material resources of a country by entering its economic territory or leaving it. Okay? So basically what this means is anything that is built or made or dug up or taken from one country and given to another country, or taken from one country and brought into your own country. That's what goods trades is, okay? So it could be anything from technology, computers, it could be commodities, it could be oil, it could be any of that stuff, okay? So goods are physical, produced items over which ownership can be established and whose economic ownership can be passed from one institutional unit to another by engaging in transactions. Goods being transported through a country or temporary admitted or withdrawn, except for goods for inward or outward processing are not included. So anything that's being transported within the country. Okay, so if you're moving from Ontario up to Vancouver, that's not a trade. That's within country. That's not a trade. Okay. So services trade. Services trade is the opposite of that. It's the stuff that you can't touch. It's the intangible stuff, right? So it refers to the sale and delivery of an intangible product called a service between a producer and a consumer. Trade and services that take place between a producer and consumer that are, in legal terms, based in different countries is called international trade in services. What you see a lot in the Middle East is a lot of Indians, Pakistanis, Bangladeshis, Sri Lankans. They all come they all flock to Saudi Arabia, Dubai, UAE, stuff like that. Why? Because they're constantly building in those countries. Okay, they're building. They need laborers, they need manpower. So these countries are heavily heavily populated with a lot of manpower. So what they do is they have they have they have recruiting firms and stuff where they recruit a bunch of people from those Middle East and all that, from India and all that stuff, and Southeast Asia, bring them over to the Middle East, pay them, and then that way the economies grow in Sri Lanka and India. Why? Because when the guys make money in Saudi Arabia, they send it back home. When they send it back home, those people are able to purchase things at the shop and keep the economy running. Okay, so that's basically how the economy works there. That's what services trade is. So it's nothing. It's no goods. It's just an intangible product. Business process outsourcing. Okay, we kind of touched on this already. BPO is a method of subcontracting various business-related operations to a third party. Okay, just like we said, if you don't have to do everything, or you just have to be able to do one thing really well, or two things really well, three things really well, but you outsource as well. So, for example, very simple example, you are I don't know, let's say you're just a warehouse. Okay, you store a bunch of stuff in the warehouse. You use a third-party logistics company to pick up all the stuff from everywhere and store it. So you're just a warehouse, and you have people doing your logistics for you. Or let's just say you are Amazon. Amazon, right? Amazon has a huge big storage warehouse. They have people coming in from different companies trying to pick up their product and move it. So that's called outsourcing. Although BPO originally applied solely to manufacturing entities such as soft drink manufacturers that outsource large segments of their supply chains, BPO now applies to the outsourcing of services as well. Like we said, right? You can outsource your HR department. You can outsource your sales team. You can outsource your R&D team, right? There's so many things, and these are all services. You're not buying anything when you're outsourcing a sales team. When you hire a sales team or HR team, there's no product. It's intangible. It's a service that you're purchasing, right? So now BPO is stuff that you can do where you can have third-party sales companies. So many businesses, from small startups to large companies, opt to outsource processes as new and innovative services are increasingly available in today's ever-changing, highly competitive business climate. Companies adopt BPO practices in the two main areas of back office and front office operations. Okay, so back office BPO refers to companies contracting as core operations such as accounting, payment, IT, HR, regulatory compliance, and quality assurance, right? Like I said. So that's the back office, right? Back office is the stuff that goes on internally, like I said, like we just talked about, HR, payment processing, IT, regulatory compliances, right? Quality assurance. And then front office you can also do, which is customer-related services such as tech support, sales, and marketing, right? Now, very important to know the difference between these two because it's going to be on the quiz. I'll be asking you guys a lot of different questions, which is going to make you guys think. So make sure you understand the differences between back office and front office. Okay, so front office, you can easily just hire. I don't know, you guys know about this. There's a lot of companies in India who are doing tech support for companies based out of the U.S. and Canada and based out of other countries, right? They just sit there in their I mean, they can do telemarketing too. They can do marketing, but they also do a lot of tech service. So that's also that's basically what BPO is. Okay, front office BPO versus back office BPO. What are the benefits of business process outsourcing? What are the benefits of BPO? Okay, very straightforward. This is super easy, guys. So companies are often drawn to BPO because it affords them greater operational flexibility. Okay, so you don't have to go and spend all this capital to try and get all this infrastructure set up and this and that and all that. No, you outsource it. You outsource your accountant. You outsource your marketing team. You outsource all that stuff. So you just sit back and do what you're good at doing, which is making your product. By outsourcing non-core and administrative functions, companies can reallocate time and resource to core competencies like customer relations and product leadership, which ultimately results in advantages over competing businesses in its industry, right? Just like we just said. BPO offers businesses access to innovative technological resources that they might not otherwise have exposure to, right? So if you're outsourcing, you get to see a bunch of different companies and what type of services they have and what type of technologies they're using. Some of them might be using way higher, better technologies than others. So then you get to have a little bit of an insight to that and you get exposure to that. So companies constantly strive to improve their processes by adopting the most recent technologies and practices. Income tax, you don't have to worry about that too much. BPO also offers companies benefits of quick, accurate reporting, improved productivity, and the ability to swiftly reassign its resources when necessary. So let's just say that the accounting department that you hired is not doing a good job. You can easily cut them off and just go to a new one. Okay, if the technological company that you're using, the ones who are building your semiconductors are not doing a good job, you can just go to a different one. You have a variety. Because if you just had it in-house and your guys weren't doing a good job, you have to go out and find new guys to come do it and all that stuff. It's too much work. You can just find a company that does it so much easier. So what is the disadvantages of BPO? So it's uh, it's not a lot of disadvantages, but well, it could be prone to data breaches, right? People can like try and hack you and stuff because you're giving your information to a second party. Um, Communication issues that delay project completion, which is very true. If your supplier is your supplier is going through something, let's say they go bankrupt or they're going through financial struggles or they have a lot on their plate and they're just taking some time, that affects your product, right? And such businesses may underestimate the running costs of BPO providers. Okay, so that's basically it. Okay, so multicultural environment. Very simple, guys. Multicultural environment is basically a bunch of different cultures coming together. So Indians, Americans, Italians, Spanish, Mexicans, Latinos, Australians, everyone coming together and working together in one environment. Okay, so multicultural working environments allow individuals to get under the skin of cultures that are incongruous to their own. Okay, incongruous means basically different to their own. Okay, so if you work in a multicultural environment, you get to see different cultures and what people do, what different types of foods they eat, what different type of beliefs they have, how they work. Some people don't work like if you're working for a company like a predominantly white company. When I was working, I'm the only brown person in my company. In the entire company, we have around 60 people. I'm the only brown person there. And the way I work is completely different than what they do. But I produce way more results than what they do. They work hard, they do this, they do that. Me, I just work smart. If I work smart, I work differently than what they work. I'm more laid back a little bit, but when it comes to When it comes to getting the business, getting the job, I'm very, very aggressive. Okay, but these guys are like on like always aggressive, so they kind of lose a lot of sales. So it's a little different, right? So when they see me, they're just like, what is he doing? Why is he not doing it? But then they see my numbers and they're just like, okay, don't bother him. Let him do whatever he wants to do. So I bring a different type of culture with me because I'm a different type of person. And when you work in a multicultural environment, you get to learn that everyone works in different ways. What really matters is results. Okay? Are the people producing results? That's what matters. That's what matters to me. As such, people will acquire a level of knowledge that will not only help them perform their jobs better, but provide the tools to expand their careers or the businesses internationally. So when I was working, so I've worked since I graduated from university. Before university, I worked at numerous companies, but after university is where I actually got my real jobs. So after I finished university, I worked with a CEO who was a Malaysian, and it was a Malaysian, predominantly Malaysian run company. It's run by Malaysia. The government of Malaysia owned it, and it was in Quebec. So I was living in Quebec. I was living in Trois-Rivières in Quebec, which is like really Quebec, man. Like everything is French. No one speaks English. So when I was there, I learned about the different cultures, and you see that the Malaysians, the Muslims, the way they perform versus how the Quebecois perform is just completely different. And the way that they interact with each other was horrible. These guys are fighting with each other all the time, arguing, this, that, and all that. Why? Only reason why is because cultural differences, and people did not know how to deal with each other's cultures. It was a shame. It was horrible. We had to sell the business. I went out there to turn around the business and sell it because it was dying. So we went out there, we turned around the business, we started making profits, and then we increased the value and we sold that business because it was just getting crushed by horrible, horrible communication between two cultures. So the Malaysian Muslim culture is on one spectrum of very religious, and the Quebecois is like they just didn't have a religion. There were a majority of the guys that I talked to were just atheists. Okay, so there was no middle ground. So you have two spectrums trying to run a business. Now you can't have two different spectrums trying to run one ship. You got to have them all come together. That's why in Toronto and the GTA and stuff like that, Mississauga, all these places, companies run very, very, very well. Why? Because they all come together, different cultures come together, they know how to work with each other and all that. Out there, very difficult. Okay? So that's basically the multicultural environment. And I learned so much just working at that company that it's you learn so much about people, about business and about how to treat people and talk to people and all that stuff once you work at a company like that. It's we have so many different people. So that's basically what I'm trying to tell you is if you work with a bunch of companies that are not same, they don't have the exact same people as your culture, then it'll help you grow, it'll help you learn. So it's going to be tough. It's not going to be easy. You're going to be going through arguments. You're going to be going through this, you're going to be that. But at the end of the day, it'll help you grow. Intercultural effectiveness. So intercultural effectiveness can be defined as the ability to interact and collaborate with people from diverse cultural backgrounds to enhance beneficial outcomes. Okay, so I'm in sales. Okay, so my intercultural effectiveness needs to be very high. Okay, so the reason is because I deal with everybody under the sun. Black people, brown people, white people, Chinese people, Asian people, European people. I deal with Irish people. I deal with everybody. So for me, I need to have that intercultural effectiveness. I need to know how to speak to people from different cultures, because you need to know there's one thing that there's a saying out there that's extremely popular. It says treat people the way you want to be treated. Okay? They say treat people the way you want to be treated. I don't believe in that. What I believe in is treating people the way they want to be treated. You understand what I'm saying, guys? So you don't treat people the way you want to be treated, because the guy over there probably doesn't want to be treated the way you want to be treated. You got to figure out. So that's what I do in sales. I figure out quickly what kind of person this person is. How does he want to be treated? Just in the few conversations, hey, how's it going? What's your name? Oh, okay. How's business? Oh, okay, good. You start talking, we get to realize who that person is. And then you treat them the way they want to be treated. If you want to get something done, if you want to have a beneficial outcome, then you treat them the way they want to be treated, not the way you want to be treated. Okay? So simply stated, intercultural effective person is able to live contentedly and work successfully in another culture. Taken a little further, intercultural effective person has three main attributes. Okay? So this is what an intercultural effective person does. Okay? Ability to communicate with people of another culture in a way that earns their respect and trust. Okay? You can't be in sales and not be someone who respects other people's cultures. You just can't. You're going to be a horrible salesperson. No one's going to want to buy from you. You're going to get fired from the majority of the companies. The capacity to adapt his or her professional skills, both technical and managerial, to fit local conditions and constraints. Okay, so you have to be able to adaptability, and then adjust your personality so that you fit in, basically. Okay, at the host culture. So when Americans go to Saudi Arabia to work, a lot of them have to just resign in like a few months because they can't deal with the culture. The ones who make it are the ones who go in and they adapt to the culture, they make their money, they make a ton of money, and they come back to the US and live a great life, right? So intercultural effectiveness. Effective communication and intercultural relationships. Intercultural communication is a communication between people with several cultural contexts. Okay, intercultural relationship, intercultural communication is super easy, right, guys? Communication between people with several cultural contexts. Okay, because we're all different, it's important to recognize each other's communication manners and then learn to handle them. So conditions for effective intercultural communication are, so very easy, right? Which I had to kind of explain to my students when I was in school, when we were in class at Pures. These guys were extremely disrespectful to their peers. Like, they would talk, not extremely disrespectful, but they're disrespectful. Like when I would ask one of their peers to speak, they would like laugh and talk in between while they were talking and stuff like that. And it made me upset. I said, guys, it's not, you have to respect each other, right? You guys are all the same. Everyone comes from the same place, and you guys aren't respecting each other. So how are you going to respect other cultures, right? So you have to you start with your own culture, and then start respecting other people's cultures, awareness of other people's cultures and of your own culture, right? You got to know, okay, this culture likes things done a certain way. This culture has religious views, all that stuff. Let's let them do what they want to do. Knowledge of different cultural codes, social skills to bridge differences. So if there is a difference, do you have the social skills to go from here to here? Like, if you have these two people, like, do you have that? Can you bridge that with your social skills? Make contact between persons, people, not a culture. Okay. Communication is effective. The recipient understands the way the sender has meant. Okay. It's only effective when communication is only effective when you get your point across, and that person who you're talking to understands it the way you're trying to say it. Okay. Okay, guys. Week 5 is a shorter week. There's not much topics to discuss here. I know it's a little tough. It's 23 minutes in now, but guys, you have a quiz next week. You must be watching this stuff, okay? So, bribery. Okay, talking about bribery. The act of promising, giving, receiving, or agreeing to receive money or some sort of other item of value with the corrupt aim of influencing a public official in the discharge of his official duties. When money has been offered or promised in exchange for a corrupt act, the official involved need not actually accomplish that act for the offense of bribery to be completed. So it's a good note. The crime is typically punishable as a felony. Okay, so bribery. When you get paid to do something, that's called a bribe. Okay, if someone is coming to you and you're a manager of a company and someone says, hey, listen, I'll give you this much money to sabotage or to mess up this contract in order for us my company to come in and get that contract. If you take this bribe, if you take this money and do it, that's called a bribery. Okay? You don't even have to do the act. Even if you just take the money, that's a bribe. You don't even have to do what he asked you to do. Even if you just take the money, that's a bribe. Okay? So obviously it's punishable as a felony, so you could get jail time for that, right? Depending on how big it is. So 2 types of bribery, very important. These things will be on your quiz. Active bribery and passive bribery. Okay, what's active bribery? When a person offers, promises, or gives a bribe, it's called active bribery. Passive bribery is when a person requests, receives, or accepts a bribe. Okay, a bribe. Active is when you're offering, passive is when you're receiving. Example of active bribery. Okay, so we're talking about some examples now so you guys can understand better. Bribing a public official in order to be awarded a contract in the briber's favor. Okay, so if you are trying to bid on a government contract, you go and give money to that government official. Obtain an inspection report to be awarded a license. Avoid planning or safety control. So if a safety guy comes in and he says, "Oh, you know, your stuff is all messed up. I won't approve you." You say, "Okay, listen, let me give you $10,000. Just approve it." Okay, and the guy takes the money. That's a bribe. Channeling bribes to win public contracts, like we said. Payments of small bribes to customs officials to expedite passage of goods through a port happens all the time, right? If you're trying to send goods from India to China and the Chinese officials are taking their time and all that stuff, your exports are taking long, just go give them a bribe, they'll move it forward faster. Employing a public official's son to influence the award of contracts, right? If you're using someone's son, right? Providing sponsorship fees and accepting travel expenses and stuff. You know, you're giving people money for, like, you're paying for their travel expenses, paying for their airlines, paying for their food, paying for their partying, all that stuff. That's also a bribe, okay? In order for you to get what you want. Examples of passive bribery, right? Security officer in a company accepts a bribe from criminals to allow access for theft, right? So that's all basically just accepting bribery. So you guys go through this. Purchasing and procurement, I want you guys to understand this. Allocation of goods and services. Recruitment, I'll be asking this in class. Give me an example of recruitment or insider fraud, illegal information, business brokering. Corruption is dishonest behavior by those in positions of power, okay? Positions of power such as managers or government officials. That's what corruption is. There are many situations where a person can be considered corrupt in the financial services industry. Chartered financial analysts and other financial professionals are required to adhere to a code of ethics and avoid situations that could create a conflict of interest. One example of corruption is an investment manager who's running a Ponzi scheme. Okay, what's a Ponzi scheme? This is a Ponzi scheme. I'm not going to explain it. I want you guys to read it. I want you guys to read up about it. And then I'm going to ask you guys in class, what's a Ponzi scheme? Exploitative child labor. I want you guys to read this, and I'm going to ask questions about it. You have your quiz next week, guys, and I'll see you in class.